because it's already 2:03 p.m. And I'd like to welcome everyone to Web3 Tuesdays, the first webinar series on law and Web3. And this is also the last episode of this season. And for this season, we have Robert Hanna. But before we go into the presentation and some introduction of Rob's multiple achievements, just a couple of housekeeping matters is always before we start. So this session is recorded. So if you don't want to appear on the video, please consider switching off your camera. But otherwise, you are more than welcome to stay with your cameras on. Also, please do consider muting yourself. And at the end of the session, as always, we will have a Q&A session. So if you want to ask a question, you can wait till the end, or alternatively, you can put your question in the Q&A box or a chat box. So I will read this question for you at the end. And also, please mind that this session is only 30 minutes long. So we will try to save our time and save our questions and to stick to the time. So today, as I said, we have Robert Hanna, who will tell us about how lawyers can integrate the Metaverse, NFTs, and Web3 in their work. Rob is the founder and managing director of KC Partners, which is a world-leading talent solution and content creation firm focused on the community. Rob is also the host of the world-renowned Legally Speaking podcast. And the reason why we have Rob today is because Rob is a passionate legal community builder, super networker, and content creator. So we are very keen on learning from Rob on how we can use Web3 to become as passionate legal community builder as Rob is. So Rob, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much for that very kind introduction, Katja, and thank you to you and the whole team for organising today. And hello, everybody. Please do connect on LinkedIn or give me a follow. That's my main platform. So today, as Katja mentioned, we're going to be talking about how lawyers can look to embrace Web3, NFTs, and the Metaverse. I'm going to start with some simple definitions that I'm sure a lot of you will know, but I think that'll help frame the discussion. But I will just put in a mini disclaimer to start with. I am in the legal industry. My grandfather was a lawyer. I recruit lawyers, but I am not myself a qualified lawyer. So all the information shared today is for curiosity purposes, information purposes, and Web3, there is no such thing as an expert. So anything you hear that you might find interesting, please go and do further due diligence and make sure everything you take action on is really safe. Okay, so let's get into Web3. If we get some water. So what is Web3? It's basically just an enhanced version of the internet. So Web 1, does anyone cast their mind back to those basic, static, read-only websites? Web 2 then brought us into those read and write capabilities, which led to the rise of social media. And Web 3 now really introduces the concept of own. So Web 3 basically decentralizes control, giving the control back to us, the users, utilizing blockchain technology. So you can enable peer-to-peer transactions, like removing of the middlemen, such as the banks, the social media platforms that I referenced. So this paradigm gives lawyers lots of new opportunities emerging, particularly when it's linked to blockchain technologies and decentralized protocols, which I'm going to talk a lot more shortly. So that's Web3 in my opinion. NFTs stands for non-fungible tokens. For me, they're just a one of one. So they're a unique digital asset verified using blockchain technology. Okay, so they can represent ownership of a specific piece of content. It could be some art, it could be some music, games, but unlike cryptocurrencies, NFTs are unique, so they cannot be exchanged. Okay, so it's on a one-to-one basis. Metaverse, we've actually all been operating in the metaverse for years and years and years, so I don't know why it's such a new term, but it basically is immersive virtual environment. Okay, so where people come together and interact with each other, digital objects in real time. You could argue we're in the metaverse right now, so it's akin to probably more of an immersive 3D internet, which users typically would attend events, buy virtual properties through avatars, and lots more. Blockchain, a lot of you will be familiar, but that's basically just a decentralized secure digital ledger, which can record transactions. There's 4 use cases really for blockchain. increasing trust, security, transparency, and hopefully traceability of data as well across a business network. So very important. What are some of the use cases for blockchain? You could look at smart contracts, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, Internet of Things, money transfer, personal identity security, NFTs, which again, I'm going to talk about, media and government. Okay, so definitions out the way. So what can lawyers do to embrace Web3? I think there's huge business development opportunities for lawyers, particularly from a compliance, regulatory, and advisory services perspective. Why? Well, you look at blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. These are fast evolving, complex regulatory environments. So there's going to be so many legal considerations. You can just look at anti-money laundering regulatory, securities law, data protection requirements. Lawyers can really help clients understand and navigate these regulations. Let's just take an example. Let's say a client wants to start a crypto exchange. So lawyers can actually assist with the exchange, looking at the relevant authorities, help implement the AML, KYC, the know your customer procedures, actually advise on data security, privacy measures, ensure that the client's processes are compliant with security laws. They can also potentially help with obtaining the licenses, actually advising on how to manage cryptocurrencies within the legal frameworks of the particular jurisdictions in which the exchange operates. So that's the BD opportunity. But let's think about the incorporation of Web3 then. So I mentioned smart contracts. So these basically are just self-executing contracts where the terms of the agreement basically are effectively directly written into the code. Okay, so they execute themselves based on the coded instructions without the need for that middle person. So once the terms are agreed, it will actually then meet the obligations of the smart contract. So this technology can basically automate and enforce legal processes, making it far more efficient and secure. So let's look at an example. I've personally just been through this experience with dealing with conveyances and property lawyers. I've just bought a house. It was chaotic. The real estate transaction was lengthy because traditionally there's lots of paperwork, intermediaries, making it time consuming, costly. By actually utilizing smart contracts, you can automate the transaction. So smart contracts could be set up in a way that once the buyer sends the agreed amount of cryptocurrency, say linked to the contract, it automatically transfers the ownership of property to the buyer. This contract could also handle other aspects of the payment in terms of like taxes, fees. So again, this reduces the need of intermediaries and speeds up the whole process and ensures that the terms are enforced and met. What else could lawyers think about? Decentralized legal research. So there could be sources, shall we say, of legal information stored on the blockchain. They can be accessed by pretty much anyone, but cannot be controlled by any single entity. Remember, we're talking about users having that control. We're moving away from centralization, being controlled by all these large corporates. So this could promote collaboration, ensure data integrity, could actually prevent unauthorized alteration of information, tampering. So let's give an example. So imagine a decentralized legal database where court decisions, legislation, I don't know, legal articles are stored. A lawyer representing a client, let's say on a patent dispute, could access that database to search for similar cases, relevant laws. And since that data is decentralized, it should in theory be more resilient to tampering, and the lawyer can be confident in the integrity of that particular information. So that lawyer can then contribute to the database by adding their case, legal analysis, enriching resource for future users. This is what I'm excited about, the next point, tokenized legal services. So we've talked about 3 points so far: the BD opportunities, smart contracts, decentralized legal research. Now let's talk about tokenized legal services, okay? So this is the process where lawyers can actually put their services into digital tokens that could be traded, they could be sold, or used in various different ways. So this could be facilitated through, again, I mentioned blockchain technology. So you think about transparency, you think about security. One of the biggest issues within the legal industry is around billing, right? So you could actually look at alternative billing models using this technology, because typically lawyers bill on hourly rates, flat fees, contingent fees. But if you use tokenization services, this could actually potentially be more flexible and actually offer more diverse billing models to your clients. So you could look at things like microtransactions, where lawyers could actually break down your services into smaller but really specific options. So, for example, you could look at a legal consultation that could be tokenized, so that client can purchase up to, say, every 10 minutes of consultation time, giving them flexibility to use as much or as little as they need. You could also look at subscription modeling as part of payment. So you could offer tokens that represent subscription services, so clients can purchase over a fixed period of time. So alternative billing models is one thing. Also, client investment in legal outcomes. So this is quite interesting. You could think about the legal services, that tokenization, enabling clients to financially invest in the outcome of legal cases or operations. So you could look at case outcome tokens. You could also look at legal project investments. So for longer term legal projects that go on and on, tokens could potentially represent shares in a project, clients and investors who could purchase these tokens to financially contribute to a project. Okay, so in return, you may receive share of revenues or other benefits that arrive from those longer term projects. What else could we think about when it comes to Web3? We could potentially look at enhanced accessibility and client engagement. And client engagement is so important. So tokenization can make legal services more accessible, remove that cost barrier. We know how sort of risk averse certain clients are when it comes to buying. So you can increase the engagement through token rewards. And I've done this in my own legal community before. But you could think about issuing these reward tokens as rewards, so for loyalty or referrals. So these, again, could be potentially redeemed for discounts on services, special services, incentivizing client continued engagement. Okay, so I think thinking about that is a really interesting area of Web3, tokenized legal services. So that's Web3, some thinking about it from BD, things you can think about practically and tactically in your business. Okay, so NFTs. A lot of people say NFTs have no purpose, right? A lot of people dispute the use case of NFTs, but just think of some examples where we could do that away from the law. Token gated content, think about Spotify. Think about digital item ownership in the metaverse. Look at what Nike are doing. Think about musicians providing super fans with special benefits. Think about brands like Ticketmaster. Think about brand community building like Salesforce. They're absolutely, in my opinion, NFTs have some use case. So, we have some intellectual property lawyers with us today, but this is huge, right? Intellectual property is vital in the digital age. I would advise anyone, if you're producing content or online, you need to have some sort of IP protection or awareness at an absolute minimum, because the proliferation of digital content and establishing and protecting ownership can be super challenging. So lawyers can use potentially NFTs, as I've mentioned, to help their clients secure ownership rights over digital content such as art, music, videos, and basically any form of creative expression, even voice. So let's give an example. An artist creates a digital painting. And I'm not talking about those ones with the Bored Ape Yacht Club when it first came, or when people were putting these little lines in the thing and then they selling them, going crazy on OpenSea, etc., etc. But they want to ensure that they retain ownership of their original work. So a lawyer specializing in IP could assist that artist in maintaining that digital painting as an NFT, right? So the NFT could be stored on the blockchain. Remember what we talked about before. That would serve as a certificate of authenticity and ownership for the painting. This not only helps, in theory, protect, but also the artist's rights, but also creates avenues of monetization for their work. Because for years and years and years, artists have been punished and they haven't been able to do that. NFT, in theory, could sell or license that as an NFT to get royalties carrying on. Okay. I talked about at length before token gated legal services and the Web3 component, but it's very much similar with NFTs, just building on that. And it has to be mentioned because lawyers and law firms could use NFTs to basically offer exclusive services, events to clients, you name it. So this can work similarly, as I mentioned before, subscription models. Owning a particular NFT can gain you access to certain services, various different perks. Yeah, exciting. Personal branding, and it's something I'm big on. People who follow me, I'm a big believer in everyone has a personal brand. It's our biggest asset. You can lose your job, but you're never going to lose your brand and your networks that go with that in a downturn, upturn, whatever it may be. So lawyers can utilize NFTs to build their personal brand by tokenizing their work, insights, looking at expertise. They can establish themselves as a thought leader, innovator in their field. So what's a hot topic at the moment? Cybersecurity, right? Everyone is talking about cybersecurity law. So you could create a series of NFTs representing in-depth reports, analysis, insights on the latest cybersecurity regulations and trends. These NFTs could be sold, they could be auctioned. Owning one would see you having access to exclusive, valuable expertise in that specific area of cybersecurity. And that, as a lawyer, that's going to enhance your reputation. It's going to enhance the value because people are going to want access to those. And you're building that thought leadership, you're building your personal brand, and you're being modern. You're providing modern legal services and meeting clients where they want to be in this tech-enabled world that we live. Client rewards. So again, remember I said that disclaimer at the start, and I know there's lots of regulated industries and there's lots of further consideration. So today is just for information purposes before people attack me. But law firms can certainly use NFTs as a form of rewards or loyalty programs for their clients. Okay, so these could be used to grant access to exclusive pieces of content. It could be services, discounts. So let's say a law firm creates an NFT that's issued, who've been with a firm for a certain period of time and have engaged a firm for a specific number of cases over a few years. This NFT could grant the holders access to exclusive webinars like this. Let's say Web3TuesDays. It could give them exclusive access to speakers, that information that may not be publicly available, priority booking for consultations. Maybe it's an early matter, they get priority, or even discounts on legal services. So this adds an element really of gamification, which is a big part of Web3 in the community as well, which creates incentives for clients and maintains that long-term relationship, because contacts are good, relationships pay. We all know that. And I did an example with my Legally Speaking podcast. We're in the top 1% of podcasts in the world. We're one of the only legal podcasts to be sponsored by a legal tech unicorn and Centaur, which is over 100 million annual recurring revenue in Clio. We ran a NFT competition giveaway linked to the show where people would get direct access to a Q&A with Carol Baskin from Tiger King, who was one of our guests on the show. So and we linked that to our Discord, and we used lots of different gamifications and NFTs and token gated, and it worked super well, really interested people. But what we found is you had to use Web2 language and landing pages to convert people into understanding Web3. Because if you start using Web3 terminology to people who don't quite understand or not quite there with Web3, you'll lose them. So lawyers, when you're speaking to your client, make sure you're using terminology and language and simplified language about all of this. Because if you start talking about tokenized legal services, they may just be like, what is that? I don't even know what crypto is. So you've got to make sure that you meet your clients where they're at when you're thinking of including these sort of ideas. Okay, before I wrap up, because I'm conscious of time, I need to talk about the metaverse. Loads of things you can do with the metaverse. The first thing is you've got to embrace it, right? These virtual office spaces. I'd be really curious to know if anyone spent any time in virtual office spaces, but people should definitely, I don't know if he's on this call, but follow my friend Mitch Jackson. He's a California trial lawyer, but he's really leading the way in terms of running a law firm and actually embracing the metaverse. He does a lot in spatial.io, which is one of the platforms that I think is pretty good. So you can establish a virtual presence in the metaverse. This actually allows your lawyers to create an innovative brand identity. You can actually offer a unique set to your clients and to your colleagues. So use things like spatial. You can design virtual environments that reflect your brand, your personal brand, makes you stand out. It's a bit different. So as a law firm, if you actually choose a metaverse platform, do that. You can completely provide virtual meeting room experiences, a reception area, spaces for informal discussions. Clients can visit your virtual office. You can interact with staff. You can engage with digital content. So you can have lots of your case studies or testimonials in your virtual hallway as people come in. Great way to promote your business. Client education and engagement. I've talked a lot about client engagement, but you can use the metaverse for educating clients, right? Clients are coming to you because they want your wisdom, right? They're paying because they want to know what you've spent years and years training to perfect your craft. So educating clients, promoting discussions on legal topics, law changes to breaking news. You could even host seminars in the metaverse, AMAs, presentations. You can make your information, share it in a more interactive, engaging way, people can have personalized avatars as they come in to your particular virtual environment. Now, this may sound crazy to people, but this is the way the world's going. You can fight it or embrace it. And I'm a big believer in embracing. So let's think about networking and community building, something I'm very passionate about, because I think a lot of businesses are going to be wiped out. I'll put on the record, accountants and lawyers have a real threat right now. And I think you have to be able to move up the value pyramid to keep ahead of the rates of where technology is going. And I think one of the best ways to do that is to build a community, because the more wisdom, the more people, the more referrals, the more knowledge, everything around that is beyond powerful. And it's one of the reasons why, you know, from my own perspective, I've been able to get lots of opportunities where I've worked with LinkedIn, I've worked with Thomson Reuters, I've got Clio as one of the world's biggest brands that's behind my sponsorship agreements, and various other things. And it's because I'm building a community and providing value. And I think lawyers, everyone can do that. So hosting and participating in events in the metaverse actually allows you to network, become in a more immersive environment, get comfortable with it. You can build these communities around specific interests, you know, or practice areas. You may be in particular practice areas, but also have fun. Lawyers can be more human. You know, you can show that human side. We're not in a B2B, B2C world anymore. We're in a H2H world, which is human to human connection. It's a great way in an immersive virtual environment for you to show you that human side and connect with people, to convert them with clients and talk about hobbies and interests in a very different way. So you could host a virtual law art exposition, for example, in the metaverse. You could bring together some artists, collectors, legal professionals, and you can actually discuss the intersection of art and law. That would be quite an interesting area. So through this, the firm could build community, you'll create enthusiasts, you'll have potential clients, and you'll have people that will actually sing and shout about your brand. You can have immersive client meetings, right? So lawyers can actually leverage the metaverse virtual to conduct these client meetings, make them more interactive. Make it a more immersive experience, because it's different, it's new. Not everyone's doing it, but everyone will be doing it in the coming years. So why not start sooner? So an attorney could meet a client in this virtual environment. It could stimulate a courtroom scenario, for example, help them better understand the court procedures, some of the nuances. They could see some of how the trial is going, you know, making them feel far more prepared than just over a phone call. Also, you could look at innovative media interactives, okay? And this will be my last point, so I'm conscious of time capture. The metaverse can be a great platform for lawyers to basically look at media appearances, record podcasts. I've done a podcast recording in spatial.io. It was brilliant. We had like the Riviera setting behind us. It was really quirky, different. You know, and you can host your own show. You could do movie nights for team bonding, collaboration. It's just a unique way where you can actually attract a wider audience, bring in people from around the world to your hometown, into your little office, or big office, shall I say. It's a great way to open things up. So a legal analyst, as one final example, could host a legal news of the week, right? So they could do a show within the metaverse where they discuss the legal developments. Participants can join from all around the world. So you can gain global perspective, network on a global level, where if you held a networking event in your country, in your office, you're limiting. And then they can ask questions, they can engage in discussions, you can create a dynamic virtual setting. So in conclusion, I'm bullish on all of this stuff. I believe that you should be actively educating, and I am not an expert. I am learning every day, and I'll probably learn from some of you today about Web3, NFTs, and the metaverse. And I haven't purposely talked about AI today because I think enough of us have read and seen a lot about it. But the reality is AI will get better and will be able to do a large part of our jobs. So unless you're thinking about moving up the value pyramid, you're at risk. And so I think it's important that we all, myself included, need to really educate, learn, come together, discuss, debate, and think about how we can utilize these technological advantages for the good, for the better experiences, to improve our efficiencies, to improve our happiness, and to deliver better services to our clients. So I hope you enjoyed that, got some interesting insights, but thank you for having me, Katja. And sorry, that was quite a bit of a ramble, but hopefully there's one or two interesting things in there.
Rob, it was really perfect. Thank you very much. I think we really learned a lot. And I've also spotted a lot of things that we have been also discussing with my friends from Metaverse Legal. So we do have a few questions in the chat, but at the same time, I'm conscious of the time. So what I would suggest to the participants who commented and who asked questions, probably to reach to Robert directly, just if you want to have answers to those questions. But what I would suggest is just to wrap up this session by two ideas that Robert expressed and that I picked up on. So the first one was, so either you can embrace it or you can fight it. It's up to you to decide, but I would definitely agree with Rob, is that there is no point of fighting this. And in fact, this is the only way of doing it, is to embrace it. And the second thing is that contrary to common belief, Web3 is about people. It's not about technology. It's not about all these robots that want to take off your job from you, but it's about building a different community. And this is why we're here, and this is why we do Web3 Tuesdays, and we build more global community of lawyers. So thank you very much, Rob. I think that was a perfect occasion, a perfect way of wrapping up our Web3 Tuesdays, which is the first webinar series on law and Web3 that we created with Filippo. And Filippo, like, despite his appearances, he is very much next to me because, like, as I said, like, Web3 is really it's really about people. So this is how we met, like how we became friends. So this is what I would encourage you all to do, is just to embrace Web3 and to make it about people and to make it about your people. So it's 2:30. So unfortunately, we need to finish this webinar, but let's catch up, let's connect, and let's be part of the one community, one Web3 legal community. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thank you so much. You're really grateful. All take care. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Have a great summer and speak to you all in September.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.